Have you ever stepped on a soft grass barefoot and instantly knew it felt different from walking on a kitchen floor? Or noticed that years ago you could walk across uneven ground without even thinking about it, but now something feels just a little less certain? Most people assume that's simply what getting older feels like. But what if it isn't? What if there's a hidden sense inside your body that has been quietly fading for years, without pain, without obvious symptoms, and without you ever realizing it? This isn't about weak muscles. It isn't about poor eyesight. And it isn't even about your joints. It's something much quieter. Something your brain depends on every single second you're standing or walking. A silent conversation between your feet and your brain. When that conversation becomes weaker, your body doesn't always know exactly where the ground is beneath you anymore. And that's when everyday movements can start feeling just a little less natural, even if you can't explain why. Today, we're going to uncover this hidden sense, understand why it often changes after 60, and most importantly, discover what research suggests you can do to help keep it active for years to come. But before we get there, you first need to understand something that almost nobody has ever been taught. Because your feet are doing something extraordinary every single time they touch the ground. As incredible as it may sound, every single step you take begins long before your foot leaves the ground, before your muscles move, before you consciously decide to take another step. Thousands of tiny sensors hidden inside the soles of your feet are already collecting information and sending it to your brain. Most people never notice this happening because it all takes place in a fraction of a second. Your feet are constantly reading the world beneath you. They can tell the difference between smooth wood, soft grass, rough gravel, warm sand, or a slippery floor almost instantly. They don't just support your body, they guide it. Scientists call this remarkable ability proprioception. You don't need to remember that word. What's important is understanding what it does. Think of it as your body's internal GPS. It constantly tells your brain exactly where your feet are, how your weight is shifting, and how your muscles should react before you even realize something has changed. That's why you can walk across a dark room without staring at your feet. It's why you can step onto an uneven sidewalk and automatically adjust your balance. And it's why you don't have to think about every movement you make. Your body is already thinking for you. The remarkable part is that this entire system works silently, 24 hours a day, until one day, it begins sending a slightly weaker signal. Not enough for you to notice immediately, not enough to cause pain, but enough for your brain to receive just a little less information than it used to. And that tiny change may explain why so many adults begin feeling less steady long before they ever experience an actual fall. So what causes this silent communication system to become quieter with age? The answer is more fascinating than most people imagine. Now that we know how this hidden sense works, the next question is obvious. Why does it begin to fade? The surprising answer is that, in many cases, nothing is actually wrong. Just as our eyesight gradually changes over time, the tiny sensory receptors in the soles of our feet can also become less sensitive as we age. Researchers have found that these receptors may need a stronger signal than they once did to detect the same amount of pressure, texture, or vibration. This happens so gradually that most people never notice the change from one year to the next. Instead, they simply begin avoiding uneven ground, walking a little more carefully, or looking down at their feet more often without realizing why. The important thing to understand is that this isn't a disease by itself. It's one of the many natural changes that can happen as the body grows older. But when other factors are added, like poor circulation, diabetes, vitamin deficiencies, or inactivity, that quiet loss of sensitivity can become much more noticeable. And that's why understanding the hidden causes matters so much, because some of them can actually be identified, and in many cases improved. One of those hidden causes affects millions of adults around the world, many of them without even knowing it. One of the most common hidden reasons for losing sensation in the feet has nothing to do with age alone. It has to do with blood sugar. Most people think diabetes only becomes a problem after a diagnosis. But long before that happens, blood sugar can remain slightly higher than normal for years without causing obvious symptoms. During that time, the tiny nerves responsible for carrying information from your feet to your brain can slowly become damaged. At first, the changes are almost impossible to notice. You may simply feel your socks a little differently, need to pay more attention when walking on gravel, or find yourself looking down at your feet more often than you used to. These small changes don't necessarily mean you have diabetes, but they are worth mentioning during your next routine checkup. A simple conversation with your healthcare provider and, if appropriate, a blood test can help identify whether blood sugar may be playing a role. The earlier changes are recognized, the more opportunities there may be to protect the health of your nerves for the future. And blood sugar isn't the only hidden factor. Another surprisingly common cause has nothing to do with sugar at all. It starts with a vitamin that many older adults don't even realize they're lacking. Let's talk about vitamin B12. Because its role in keeping your nerves healthy is much bigger than most people imagine. Not every loss of sensation in the feet is related to blood sugar. Sometimes, the missing piece is something much simpler. Vitamin B12. It's a nutrient your body depends on to keep nerves healthy and working properly. The challenge is that, as we grow older, absorbing vitamin B12 from food becomes less efficient. Even people who eat a balanced diet can gradually develop lower levels without realizing it. Because this happens slowly, the first signs can be easy to overlook. Some people notice mild numbness in their feet. Others describe a tingling sensation, or the feeling that they're wearing thick socks, even when they're barefoot. These symptoms don't automatically mean you're low in vitamin B12. There are many possible causes. But because B12 plays such an important role in nerve health, it's one of the first things healthcare providers often consider when evaluating unexplained changes in sensation. The encouraging news is that checking your vitamin B12 level usually requires nothing more than a routine blood test. If a deficiency is found, your healthcare provider can recommend the most appropriate way to correct it. Sometimes, identifying a simple deficiency is all it takes to prevent the problem from becoming more significant over time. But here's something even more surprising. For many older adults, doctors never find a single clear explanation. So what happens when every test comes back normal, yet your feet still don't feel the way they used to? Here's something that often surprises people. Not everyone who experiences reduced sensation in their feet has diabetes. Not everyone has a vitamin B12 deficiency. And not every medical test reveals a clear answer. In fact, researchers have found that many older adults experience gradual changes in nerve sensation without one single identifiable cause. That doesn't mean the symptoms aren't real, and it certainly doesn't mean you're imagining them. The human body is incredibly complex. As we age, small changes in circulation, nerve function, muscle strength, joint mobility, and even physical activity can slowly add up. Individually, each change may seem insignificant. Together, they can make your feet feel just a little less connected to the ground than they once did. The important thing isn't finding a perfect explanation for every single person. The important thing is recognizing the changes early, supporting the systems that help you stay steady, and continuing to move with confidence. Because even when we can't stop every change that comes with aging, there is still a great deal we can do to help our bodies adapt. So how can you tell if this silent change may already be affecting you? There are a few subtle signs that many people overlook. By now, you may be wondering, how would I know if this is happening to me? The truth is, these changes are usually very subtle. They rarely appear overnight. Instead, they quietly become part of everyday life. You might notice that walking across grass or gravel doesn't feel quite the same as it used to. Perhaps you feel more comfortable looking down when walking on unfamiliar ground. Or maybe you've realized that standing with your eyes closed, even for a few seconds, feels a little less stable than it once did. Some people become more cautious on stairs. Others instinctively reach for a handrail without thinking about it. These changes don't automatically point to a medical problem, but they are your body's way of asking for a little more attention. The sooner you recognize these small signals, the sooner you can take simple steps to support your balance, your confidence, and your independence. And that brings us to the most encouraging part of today's video. Because while we can't stop the aging process, we can absolutely help our feet and our brain work together more effectively. Let's look at a few simple habits that research suggests may help keep this remarkable system active. The good news is that your feet are not simply passive passengers. Like many systems in the body, they respond to regular stimulation and movement. While no exercise can completely stop the natural aging process, research suggests that consistently challenging your balance and stimulating the sensory receptors in your feet may help your brain process information more efficiently. One of the simplest habits is spending a few minutes walking barefoot on safe natural surfaces like grass or clean sand. The changing textures provide gentle sensory input that encourages the receptors in your feet to stay engaged. Simple balance exercises can also make a meaningful difference. Standing on one foot for a few seconds while keeping a sturdy chair nearby, or slowly shifting your weight from one foot to the other, may help strengthen the communication between your feet, your muscles, and your brain. Just as important as taking care of the factors we talked about earlier. Keeping blood sugar under control, making sure your vitamin B12 levels are adequate, staying physically active, and discussing any persistent changes with your healthcare provider. None of these steps are about chasing perfection. They're about giving your body the best opportunity to keep doing what it was designed to do. Move with confidence, stay independent, and continue enjoying the everyday moments that matter most. Your feet have been quietly protecting you since the day you learned to walk. Every step you take depends on an extraordinary conversation between your feet and your brain, a conversation most of us never even knew existed. As the years go by, that conversation may become a little quieter, but quieter doesn't mean it's gone. Understanding how this remarkable system works is one of the best ways to take better care of it. Sometimes, the smallest changes we make today become the biggest advantages tomorrow. Because healthy aging isn't about avoiding every challenge. It's about giving your body the support it needs to keep doing the things you love. If you enjoyed learning something new about your body today, you'll also enjoy our next video, where we explore simple balance exercises that many older adults can safely practice at home to help improve stability and confidence. And if you'd like more evidence-informed videos designed to help you stay healthy, active, and independent after 60, be sure to subscribe to Silent Health Triggers and join us each week. Until next time, take good care of yourself and keep moving forward, one confident step at a time.